This is episode 3 in the Dragnos Primer series. The first episode we looked at how to download Minecraft and making sure that it's vanilla without the mods and how to find the saves folder. The last episode I showed you guys how to actually create this void world, set up your first block in that void world, and then just set up some basic world game rules so that you can stop things like the sun going up and down and so forth. Today I'm going to be looking at coordinates and I'm going to be looking at spawn chunks. Now the first part is of the coordinates, and you will be surprised how often I get these questions, or my coordinates are different from yours and it doesn't work. Okay, so I'm just thought I'd just give you guys a bit of a tutorial on it. Now if you hit the F3 button, you'll see it opens up a kind of diagnostic window. If you're looking at a block, okay, so just look at this block over here, you'll see quite a bit of information on the left-hand side. You'll see a bit of information on the right-hand side. Now, the right-hand side deals with the actual block you are looking at. So you'll see this is a block Minecraft stone, and it's got a damage value of 0, and it's cube stone and variant is stone. So if I put down blue wool, you'll see that it's got a damage value of 3, which means it's wool with damage 3 is blue. Okay, if I put down red, you'll see that it's got a damage value of 14. Okay, but what I'm interested in today is on the left hand side I've got looking at. So as you can see, I'm looking at 0, 64, 0. Okay, now that is the absolute positioning of this block in the world. Okay, it means that it is on x equals 0, y equals 64, and z equals 0. So this is where this block is placed. So if I reference that coordinates from anywhere in the world, I will be able to target this exact block. Okay, if the block was, for example, over here, okay, I will be looking at x equals 3, y equals 65, and z equals 0. So if I use those coordinates as the absolute, I can target this block. Now you'll see that we have negative values. Okay, so there's a -1, and we've got positive values. Why is this not positive? Oh, because I'm going in the wrong direction. There we go. Negative values, and this should actually be positive. Oh, there we go, positive. So I was just being a nut. Okay, now you'll also see that when you look at my target, you'll see that it actually shows me where I'm looking in 3-dimensional space. Now if I'm looking along a line, so if I'm looking along red like that, I am then looking in the positive direction. So I'm looking in positive z. If I'm looking like that, all right, I'm looking at the negative. So I'm looking along it, that's the positive, that's the negative. That's the negative, that's the positive. Okay, so if I'm now building, so you'll see that I'm now going to be building along the line. So I'm now building in the positive x, but I'm actually looking towards the negative. Okay, and now I am building along the positive z, but I'm looking at the negative z. Okay, and now I'm building in the positive y, but I'm looking at the negative y. All right, I hope that makes sense. It just kind of places you in the world view. Right, so that is absolute positioning. So if I go TP at player to 1 1 1, just make 64 1 1 1 64. Okay, it will actually teleport me to a specific spot. It'll teleport me to the absolute coordinates that I put in. Okay, so that's very, very important to note. It'll teleport me to the absolute coordinates. Now, then you get another type of coordinate which is relative. Okay, which means it is based on where the player or the entity is that is running the command. So if I say something along the lines of teleport player tilde tilde tilde, so the tilde means relative to the player. So if I teleport myself, you'll see I'll go nowhere because I'm just teleporting myself to myself, exact spot where I am. But if I add, for example, tilde1, it means relative to me, teleport me 1 block up from where I am, and then you'll see that is exactly what will happen. Okay, if I don't use the tilde, so let's say I just go x tilde Y1 Z tilde, it means it's going to teleport me to the absolute 1, but relative to the X and the Z. So as you can see there. All right, so if I now just go 64, it'll take me back up again. Okay, right, so that's it. Now, the tilde key, unfortunately, I cannot tell you where that is on, oops, what am I doing? The tilde key, unfortunately, I cannot tell you where that is on your keyboard. Every single keyboard is kind of, not every single keyboard, but keyboards are different. If you're on an American keyboard, the tilde key will be in a different spot from a British keyboard. If you're on a French keyboard, it'll be different from a German keyboard. The key layouts differs from keyboard to keyboard. Even if you're on for example, a German keyboard, if you're on a laptop keyboard, it will be different from a desktop keyboard, which will be different from a different make of keyboard. So unfortunately, I cannot give you an absolute answer to where to find the key. This is just something you're going to have to look for and Google. Google is always your friend. Okay, cool. I mean, that's it. So when I'm referencing coordinates in command blocks and I do not use the tilde, it means it is absolute to that world. Now the coordinates will be different for every single world. So if I make a concept that I'm using absolutes, you will need to change your coordinates to match whatever the block is your coordinates is set at. Okay, next, Spawnchunks. So Spawnchunks, when I set the world spawn on this block, okay, I set it on this block for a very specific reason. Now the next bit I don't know too much about, but I've just played around with it and I've done a bit of research. But when you put it to 64 by 0, I think you have a 24 chunks or 25 chunks around you that is then considered to be spawn chunks. Now what spawn chunks are is chunks that never unload. Right, now you might have run around the world and you'll see in the distance there chunks, part of the world disappears. That's because the chunk unloads. So when you're a certain distance away from a chunk, it will actually unload to save system resources. Now the special thing about a spawn chunk is that it will never unload. And this is why map makers always build their mechanisms in spawn chunks, so that no matter where in the world you are, your mechanism will always still work. Okay, so in a 24 chunks around this set world spawn will not unload. Now there is some debating about this, but the inner 12 chunks, mobs will never despawn. So if you've ever had a mob farm and you moved too far away from the mob farm, all of your entities would have despawned. Now within the centered 12 chunks, this will not happen. Now, as I said, please correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I mean, this is the basics that you need to know. Okay, so just to explain, give you an idea of how the spawn chunks work is I've up here, so let me just quickly TP myself relatively. So relatively, I'm going to TP myself to 200. Okay, somewhere there we go. I've got a little mechanism over here. Now what this mechanism does, it just says hello, right? Now if this mechanism was not in a spawn chunk and I moved away from it far enough, it would just stop working. But this will never stop working. So even though I go like that and I go TP at P 10,000 64 10,000. Okay. So even though I'm 10,000 blocks from that, I am still getting that signal. It is still running. Okay. If I, for example, set a block over here, so set block. Just do it relative stone. Okay, and I build that mechanism again. Okay, so if I just, this is a very basic clock, which the clocks I will be looking at not the next episode, the episode after that. Right, so and what do I need? And I need a give Dragnos command _ block. Okay, right, so this is all I need to make this clock. So if I have this clock running over here, and let's just put that in there and put that in there and put, come on, put that over there, and this is say bye. Okay, you'll see it says hello, bye, hello, bye, hello, bye. Now, if I teleport back to TP at player 0640, okay, you'll see that that hello clock or the bye clock has no longer works because it's now in an unloaded chunk. If I teleport back to it, okay, you'll see it'll immediately start working again. Okay, and if I teleport back, it'll stop working. Okay, so this is why you would build your mechanisms in the spawn chunk so that no matter where you are in the world, it will always work. Okay, in the next episode, we'll be looking at command blocks a bit more in detail. We'll be how to get a command block, when to get a command block. We'll be doing some base commands as well, just some of the basic commands that I don't normally explain, and we'll just do basic player selection as well. So yeah, please join me for the next episode.